The $40 million question is, will Anthony Joshua take step-aside money to allow Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk fight for the undisputed championship of the world? Nobody really knows. People go back and forth with me and ask me, what do I think about Anthony Joshua stepping aside? I would first have to say I would have to see where Anthony Joshua's head is. And with that being said, it's hard to tell where Anthony Joshua's head is because, once again, he's still sending mixed signals. Now, he does an interview with Kugan Cassius. I think that's how you say his name. Not sure. On IFL TV, where he asks him, has he been approached about stepping aside for Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury? And Anthony Joshua replies, they know better than to come with me with that garbage. You know, basically implying that even the thought of it or even bringing it up to him is an insult, and his team knows better. Now, in the same breath, he turns around and then says, but, you know, I'm a businessman. So if they come at me with the right amount of money, I am about my business. And this is in the same damn interview, just a few minutes right after he said that his team knows better about coming to him, asking him that. Then he turns around and entertains the fact that he is a businessman, and if they come with me with the right money, then, you know, we can sit down and we can talk. Both of those personalities, they conflict with each other because you can't be both of them. You know, to me, if Anthony Joshua had serious intent about getting his belts back, the one thing he is correct about is there is no entertaining a step aside. Okay, somebody who's really want their belts back and really to set a wrong right, somebody who really believes that they can beat somebody, would not entertain any step aside. So he is right about that. The problem is he contradicts himself in the next sentence. Then he said he's a businessman. Okay, so if they come with me with the right money, blase split. Okay, this is the thing. If you are a businessman, then you are directly not the first guy who you would claim and would say, my team shouldn't even come at me with that. The point is, if you was really about getting your belts back, if you was really about thinking that you really could beat Oleksandr Usyk and correcting this and, you know what I'm saying, going on to undisputed, you wouldn't even have time to entertain the business side. So the fact that he is entertaining or would entertain some step aside money lets me know he's not as eager to correct his wrong or go back there and rectify something that he thought he could have did better on. Okay, so this is what I say, it's up in the air with Anthony Joshua. He's back and forth. We first have to see where his mind is at, and since he can't settle in one situation, it's hard to tell. But one thing is not hard to tell: if you're even entertaining a step aside, then that lets me know that he's not as hungry as it would appear, or as he tries to portray, about him going back in there and fighting Oleksandr Usyk. Because if he was that guy, there, like he said, there would be no entertaining any step aside money. But as Anthony Joshua just told you in this interview, that he has entertained stepping aside. Now, what Anthony Joshua says and what Eddie Hearn says, they always differ. Anthony Joshua says one thing, then Eddie Hearn comes out and say the total opposite. And by the time they figure out that they were sitting on opposite sides of the fence, you know what I'm saying, they've already talked about, man, I already did an interview saying this, I already did an interview saying that. So usually it's Eddie who has to go back and clean it up. So then in another breath, in another article, they'll say that, you know, he is entertaining this step aside money. Then in another article, Eddie Hearn, they'll say, oh, he wouldn't even dream of entertaining a step aside money. Then you got the interview with Anthony Joshua saying that, no, I know I'm not thinking about no step aside, but if they pay me the right money, we can sit down and talk. So there is no telling, but one thing's for sure, if he was really about that, there would be no entertaining, no step aside. Why? Because why would you want Tyson Fury to come in and beat the man that beat you? You know, like, I would want to beat the man that beat me. I would want to avenge that loss. I wouldn't be very this is the competitive side, of course. I wouldn't be very comfortable with letting Tyson Fury step in and whooped on the person that whooped me and then go fight Tyson Fury. Now, that would probably be a more durable, more healthy, strategic way of going about it. But you still didn't beat the man that beat you. But you probably can't beat him, but you think that you could beat Tyson Fury. And then this is the thing. Let's say Tyson Fury beats Usyk. With the way Tyson Fury moves, there is no guarantee that he'll turn around and directly fight you. He might play games with you again. Tyson Fury might retire, unless he just want a little bit of money because he doesn't need it. He could retire completely on top, and there's nothing that nobody could say about him. If he turns around and he smashed Oleksandr Usyk, he could put a period on his boxing career right there and stop right there, and he'll be straight. Period. So there is no guarantee that Tyson Fury will actually fight you at the end of the day, So you need to be serious about going in there and beating him again. But nobody knows where Anthony Joshua's at because he said, no, I'm not entertaining a step aside. Then he is entertaining a step aside. The bottom line is with Anthony Joshua and Team Joshua, they need to drop the fake shit. They don't have to put it up for us. You ain't got to put on no front. Just be serious about whatever it is that you think that you want to do. Because it's time for all the fake bullshit that's going on with the Joshua camp. It's time for that shit to stop, and people need to start talking realistic. Because your promoter says one thing, and then the fighter says the other thing, and then you guys are always on opposite sides, and nobody knows where he at. And even more importantly than that, does Anthony Joshua even got a new trainer yet? Does anybody know? So, and how deep are we in? So it just seems like he's not prepared, and he don't really want it anyway, at least not like that. And if you got to go back to the drawing board, hey man, you got to go back to the drawing board. But you ain't got to put on the front saying, oh, my team knows better than to come at me with that. Then in the same sentence, turn around and say, wait, well, I am a businessman. So those two attributes and attitudes, they can't coexist with each other. You're either one way or the other, because both of them, they cancel each other out. So that's my thought on the $40 million question. He needs to figure out what he really wants to do. And if you don't want to fight Oleksandr Usyk, you ain't got to fake the funk for the rest of your fans. Just step the fuck aside and take that $40 million. You know what I'm saying? If you really don't want it. But if you really do want it, stop even entertaining the $40 million step aside even for a little bit, and let it be known clear across the board. There will be no step aside. There will be no this. I'm going right back in there. I'm going to exercise my rematch clause. I'm going to get my belts back in the store. You ain't got to ask nobody else about it because it came out of the horse's mouth. But he's always teeter and totter, and that's part of the problem what's going on with Anthony Joshua. I think he's up in the air. He's confused. I don't know if he still wants to box or don't want to box. Is he hungry or he's not hungry? Or is he hungry and still think that he's hungry, but really he's nowhere near being hungry? Like, you don't know. It's just too much shit up in the air. So when it comes to fighting or stepping aside, this is what I got to say about that. On Anthony Joshua's Instagram page, it says it right there, clear as day. Throwback fighter. Okay? Now, you either a throwback fighter or a businessman. If you're a throwback fighter, go ahead and get your belts back. If you're a businessman, step your ass aside. But don't be confused on which one you are. That's my opinion on it. I'm out.